Hey everyone, let's just jump right into it. Today we're unpacking a really beautiful real-life story by Sudha Murty, and we're going to break down absolutely everything you need to know for your Chapter 1 Kaveri English exam. Whether you're coming at this for the very first time or you're just looking for that perfect review right before test day, this explainer is going to give you the exact narrative flow and the thematic breakdown you need to totally ace it.
I want you to just pause and really think about this for a second. Imagine being 62 years old and you literally cannot read a single word. Put yourself in the shoes of Krishtakka, a grandmother who felt entirely, completely helpless just staring at a magazine she couldn't decipher. Imagine having a whole lifetime of experiences, a really sharp mind, and this deep love for stories, but being totally walled off by your inability to read the letters on a page. It's an incredibly profound sense of isolation, right? And that feeling is exactly where the emotional core of our story begins.
So, here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll start by setting the scene, look at the turning point, cover the beautiful resolution, break down characters and core themes, and finish up with some important exam questions.
All right, Section 1, setting the scene in a remote village in North Karnataka.
We start off with our narrator, a 12-year-old Sudha Murty, and her 62-year-old grandmother, Krishtakka. Now back then, in their remote village, the transit system was, well, let's just say it wasn't exactly efficient. The morning paper didn't even show up until the afternoon, and the weekly magazine arrived a full day late. The whole village basically revolved around whenever that delayed weekly bus decided to show up. But for Krishtakka, the absolute peak of her week was getting her hands on Karmavira. This was a really popular Kannada magazine that delivered a serialized novel called Kashiyatra by the famous writer Triveni. Serialized just means it was published chapter by chapter, week by week. So every single Wednesday, the grandmother would sit right next to 12-year-old Sudha and listen with total devotion as her granddaughter read the newest episode out loud.
Now, what's super interesting here is how perfectly Krishtakka's own life mirrors the protagonist in that novel. Kashi Yatra is all about this old woman who saves up her money her entire life to go on a pilgrimage to Kashi. But in the end, she actually sacrifices that lifelong dream just to help a poor orphan girl get married. Well, Krishtakka had never been to Kashi either. She had tons of her own unfulfilled wishes, so she deeply emotionally identified with the old woman in the story. Even though she couldn't read the words herself, she literally memorized the entire episode just from listening, and then go discuss it with her friends in the temple courtyard.
Let's move into our next section, the turning point. This is the crisis of illiteracy that totally shatters her weekly routine.
This sequence of events perfectly shows how one tiny disruption forced Krishtakka to face a really embarrassing dependency. Sudha gets invited to a wedding in a neighboring village, and she ends up staying there for a full week. During that time, the Karmavira magazine arrives right on schedule. The grandmother eagerly opens it up, but she's hit with this incredibly harsh reality. She can't read a single word of it. She can only look at the pictures. And she is way too embarrassed to go ask anyone else in the village to read it to her. So for hours, she just sits there in absolute helplessness. When Sudha finally gets back home, she is completely shocked to find her grandmother, this normally resilient woman who never cried even in the toughest times, just completely in tears.
And when they talk, we get this crucial realization born from her painful past. Krishtakka explains to Sudha that she lost her mother young, her father remarried, and look, girls just weren't typically educated back then, so she never went to school. She made absolutely sure her kids and grandkids got an education, but she was still illiterate. She looks at Sudha and says, "We are well off, but what use is money when I cannot be independent?" This is arguably the most important line in the whole story. It hits the nail on the head. Wealth means absolutely nothing without self-reliance, dignity, and true independence.
So what does she do about it? Let's move to Section 3, the beautiful resolution and her dedication to learn by Dasara.
Instead of just accepting her fate, Krishtakka completely takes control. That very night, she makes a firm decision that she is going to learn the Kannada alphabet, and she sets a strict deadline, the Saraswati Puja during the Dasara festival. Now, Sudha is obviously surprised, and honestly, she laughs a little bit at the idea of a 62-year-old picking up reading. But Krishtakka, she is entirely unfazed. She becomes the perfect, incredibly obedient student to her very strict 12-year-old granddaughter. I mean, we're talking reading daily, repeating lessons, writing diligently, and she never missed a single homework assignment. Her determination was just absolute.
And guys, her hard work pays off in the most spectacular way imaginable. When the Dasara festival finally arrives, Triveni's novel has been published as a complete book, and Sudha actually buys it as a secret gift. But before she can even hand it over, the 62-year-old grandmother shocks everyone. She bends down and touches her 12-year-old granddaughter's feet. Now, in Indian tradition, elders do not touch the feet of youngsters. It just isn't done.
But Krishtakka explains, I am touching the feet of my guru. She wasn't bowing to her granddaughter, she was bowing to her teacher, out of pure respect, proving she truly understood the sacred bond of education. Sudha gives her the book, and Krishtakka reads the title flawlessly. She passed with flying colors.
All right, now that we've gone through the narrative, let's shift gears to Section 4. We need to look at the academic breakdown of the characters and core themes.
Let's compare our two brilliant leads here. On one side, we've got Sudha Murty, the narrator. She is caring, patient, and obviously a loving granddaughter. But academically speaking, she represents the vital role of the younger generation in adult literacy. And on the flip side, we have Krishtakka, affectionately called Ava. She starts off illiterate, sure, but she is highly intelligent, super hardworking, incredibly humble, and literally living proof that age is absolutely no barrier to learning. Seeing them side by side really highlights that beautiful role-reversing intergenerational bond at the heart of everything.
Okay, keeping those characters in mind, let's look at the core themes. You really want to keep these locked in your memory, because almost every single exam question you face is going to tie back to at least one of these points. The story practically shouts that education has no age limit. It champions determination and hard work. It loudly states that self-respect and independence are vastly superior to just having money. It redefines respect for teachers, showing that it transcends age and gender. It showcases the transformative power of literature. And finally, it highlights the immense strength of intergenerational bonds.
And that brings us perfectly into our final section, important exam questions. Let's do a quick rapid-fire review.
First up, this is a classic two-part question you're highly likely to see. Why was the grandmother so interested in Kashi Yatra, and why did she touch Sudha's feet? Well, to answer the first part, she was obsessed with it because she emotionally identified with the protagonist's unfulfilled wishes. She also always wanted to visit Kashi. And for the second part, she touched Sudha's feet because Indian scriptures say that a teacher, a guru, must be respected regardless of their age or gender. She was honoring the knowledge, not the age.
Next question. What is the significance of the title, How I Taught My Grandmother to Read? This one is all about role reversal. It beautifully proves that even a child can be a teacher. It totally tears down the traditional hierarchy and proves that meaningful learning can happen between literally any two people.
Okay, seriously, grab your phone and take a screenshot right now. I mean it. This is your ultimate cheat sheet for remembering the exact, specific details for your exam. If you can memorize these 6 key facts, everything from the author's name to the exact festival deadline, you are going to have the solid, foundational evidence you need to support any long-form essay question they throw your way. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. Look at Krishtakka. If a 62-year-old woman can completely transform her life, break social conventions, and conquer her absolute biggest insecurity through sheer, relentless willpower, what's holding you back from mastering your next challenge? It is truly never too late to learn something new. Keep that energy with you as you study, give it your all, and you are going to do great on this exam.